Okay, first day of padded training camp, and we learned a lot of things about the defense. Really good, encouraging things, both personnel and scheme wise. So before we get started, who do you remember being your first defensive Detroit Lion that you loved? For me, it was Robert Porcher. I mean, of course, Chris Spielman, but like Robert Porcher, Dre Bly. I just thought, oh my gosh, I love Dre Bly. So let me know in the comments the Detroit Lions defender that you remember from the 90s, 80s, whatever it was, that first defender that you remember really liking. So the defense is getting started. And I think as the pads come on, it only makes sense that the defense really starts to show up more because they can't really have an impact without pads as much. So again, we're going to look at personnel and scheme wise, some of the things that are really outstanding and a great update for us as the pads come on. So, first thing, scheme wise, new wrinkles in the defensive scheme, and this is takeaways from day 5 of training camp from Pride of Detroit. This is the second or third time I've seen players playing in different positions, edge players standing up, or excuse me, edge players standing up, linebackers rotating. The Lions continue to expand their defensive scheme install and showed a few new wrinkles to start the week. We are seeing more movement with the Lions' edge rushers, linebackers shifting around the field and altering responsibilities. Without disclosing too much, and I think this has to do with like media, you can't say like plays that are being run, or you know what I'm saying? Like you can't talk about scheme and share that. But we saw players like Hutch, Harris, Romeo, Aquara, Derek Barnes, Trevor Nowaski, we'll get to him in a second, expand the roles beyond the basic that their position requires. So that's interesting, right? Because you're Aiden Hutchinson, you're a defensive end. I mean, as defensive end as they get, what would he be doing that would be expanding his role? Is he at linebacker? Is he dropping into coverage a lot more than we expect? Because he's an edge setting, rush the passer guy. Same with Charles Harris. Romeo Aquara is a little bit more hybrid. Derek Barnes. Now, this one makes sense that they're like, all right, Derek Barnes is a missile. He struggles or defensively sometimes. He overruns things. So maybe they're putting him more at a pass rushing situation. I don't know, right? So that's interesting. Rookie defenseman making noise. And we'll get back to the scheme in a second. The scheme is the whole point of this video. We'll get back to that in just a second. But rookie defenseman making noise. Jack Campbell is a guy that straight up is, I'm so excited to see him on an NFL field. Initially, when we drafted him, Iowa, clunky linebacker, big, can't really play in the NFL game. Like that's just right off the top. But then you dive into him. He's a monster. He's super athletic. He's agile. He's quick. How do I know that? Right here. Craig Reynolds caught a curl, turned it upfield, only to be chased down from behind by Campbell, who punched the ball free, then recovered it himself. Exactly what the coaches love. I mean, geez, come on. Brian Branch just did a video on this. Check that out. It was just did a previous video on this. Brian Branch, if you watched the Inside the Den episode where they go behind the draft, you saw how in love we were with Brian Branch and how we were like stunned he was still available, and we were able to get him in the second round. It's incredible. So you start looking around the defense, and again, I promise I'll get back to the scheme of our defense and why it's going to be great. But now you look at it. Aiden Hutchinson is in his second year, going to be a great player. You've got Charles Harris coming back, Aquara, Houston, defensive end's great. Levi Onwuzurike is back with Aleem McNeil. Defensive tackles don't feel as concerning. I think there was a little bit of a concern, like, man, wouldn't it be awesome if we had a stud D tackle? Aleem is good. And then we've got some other depth. But then now on every layer, we've got something. So we've got second year with Malcolm Rodriguez, plus you add the youth of Jack Campbell. Secondary, we all know what we've done there. We've revamped that incredibly. And now with Brian Branch, CJ Gardner-Johnson, our free agent corners, all of a sudden you've got a really good every single layer defensively looks good versus a couple years ago, nothing looked good. I mean, whew, oh man. So what does that mean scheme wise? If you remember last year, Aaron Glenn, I think Aaron Glenn is on the Ben Johnson level of innovation on the defensive side. I really believe that, and I think we're going to see that this year because he has the players to do it. We're already seeing it with articles like this where they're saying, "Hey, guys are playing in different positions, moving around, versatility, able to do things mentally that we haven't been able to do, mentally and physically to do it." So, if you remember in the beginning of last year, remember we were doing a lot. We were blitzing, we were dropping guys, we were doing too much. We got caught out of position so many times, and guys were running free, and it was easy, easy. And then what did Aaron Glenn do? To his credit, said, okay, we have to stop all that. We just have to stop all that. We have to play straight up man defense. If people beat us, they beat us, but we got to give ourselves a chance. We can't give up this easy stuff like the Seattle game. Remember that, just up and down Seattle went. Miami Dolphins just couldn't stop them. So it's like, all right, let's just play man defense. We're going to get burned at times, but at least we're going to be close to the wide receiver versus trying to do some zone blitzes and some scheme stuff defensively. I think Aaron Glenn really has a passion for it. I think you have to do it. I think in order to advance to where the Lions think they can go, you have to be better defensively scheme wise. So an example there would be, we just saw it, Aiden Hutchinson. I don't like him dropping into coverage. I get that, but if there's some zone blitzes, there's guys that are going to be coming off the edges. We're going to be bringing corner blitzes, safety blitzes, nickel blitzes. Why? Because we have the players to do it. CJ Gardner-Johnson, Brian Branch, two examples. Guys that can play corner, nickel, safety. Brian Branch, CJ Gardner-Johnson don't miss tackles, yet they can still cover. And now you can do so many things versatility wise that you could never do last year. When you've got good corners now, that helps everything. Now your safeties can be more free. You have good linebackers that can blitz, that can drop in coverage. I mean, Jack Campbell's specialty when he was at Iowa, he could play the run and he could drop into coverage so well. He reminds me, I know he's not Brian Urlacher, but he reminds me of that. Remember how Urlacher was always there to stop the run, yet somehow was dropped way deep every time he went to throw and you couldn't get it over him. The middle was clogged. It's like, what the heck? That is what I think we have in Jack Campbell. Anzalone's still there. Defensively, we've got to be better than we were last year. Duh. Thank you. But if we can be, we all know that our offense is going to be good. Like, we don't even need our offense to be great. We just need them to be good, get up and down the field a little bit. And if you've got a complementary defense, then it's scary. Then it's like, okay, win the division, home playoff game. Here we go. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. The personnel's there. The scheme's going to be there this year. The defense is going to look incredibly different. I can't wait to see it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and we will see all of you on the next one.